What is the biggest misconception C-suite executives have about implementing ethical AI, and how does this actually impact their bottom line transformation?
The most dangerous misconception is that ethics is a compliance tax, a checkbox exercise that slows innovation and adds cost. This fundamentally misunderstands the economics of trust. So during my tenure leading global marketing at Meta, I witnessed a critical pattern. Every major AI initiative that failed to embed ethics from inception faced a 3 to 5% higher cost to retrofit it afterwards. And that's if it survived. So if you consider McKinsey, this research, they found that companies with stronger ethical AI practices see about approximately a 20% higher customer retention and 15% better stock performance. Why? Because ethical AI isn't about constraints. It's about sustainable competitive advantage. And when we launched AI-driven ad targeting at Meta, the teams that baked in transparency and user control from day one achieved 2.3x better long-term engagement than those who tried to maximize a myriad of different short-term metrics. So the real transformation happens when C-suite execs realize that ethical AI is their moat. In an era where a single algorithmic scandal, and we've seen many of those, can wipe out billions in market cap overnight, ethics isn't risk mitigation. It's value creation at the end of the day. It's the difference between building features and building franchises.
Your PACT framework is central to your book. How did you develop it, and what role did your Cambridge research play in shaping it into the framework it is today?
My PACT framework is very close to my heart. It actually started about 3.5 to 4 years ago when I was marketing leader, practitioner, and really struggled or wrestled with how to scale personalization while still honing in and valuing customer trust. I saw the need for something more holistic than checklists or compliance audits, something that really addressed the nuances of real world implementation. It was during my time at Cambridge that the framework truly evolved. I had the opportunity and the time to study a range of AI governance models, toolkits, ethical philosophies from procedural justice to virtue ethics. That academic grounding helped me to refine PACT into more of a well-rounded framework, one that really bridges theory and practice and adapts to both corporate boardrooms and academic scrutiny. It's not just a model, it's really trying to adopt a mindset shift, particularly at some of the key levels of decision making from small and medium businesses all the way to global enterprises.
We are seeing companies achieve 40% productivity improvements through strategic AI adoption, yet many are stuck in pilot. Your book talks about aligning growth with responsibility. What's the specific mindset shift that transforms a company from AI experimenter to AI transformer?
I feel like this is the billion-dollar question. The fundamental shift is from AI as a cost arbitrage to AI as a capability multiplier. I think companies currently are stuck in, this pilot purgatory, typically because they made three fatal errors. They optimize for automation over augmentation. They measure efficiency instead of effectiveness. What I see is that they normally treat AI as an IT project rather than an organizational transformation as a whole across all of their business units. If I were to illustrate this from a case from my book, for instance, there was a global retailer that I advised that had 47, I kid you not, 47 AI pilots running, again, across a myriad of different divisions, all focused on cost reduction. The combined ROI at that time when I came in for the evaluation was negative 12%. So looking at the amount of sunk cost, workload, time of employees, etc., we, after a long discussion around strategy, what the goals were that they were trying to achieve, looking at differentiation across the different projects, we were able to pivot their entire approach. So instead of, as people say, replacing humans, we used AI to give their, I think about 50,000 associates what they called superpowers. So customer service reps became, empathy engineers, right? With AI providing real-time coaching and contextualization. Their sales associates became style consultants, right, with AI-powered trend insights. And at the end, this was about a 8-month project from revision through to analysis for the revised pilot. It resulted in a 340% ROI, 52% improvement in their customer satisfaction, their NPS scores. More critically, 87% employee approval. We were able to keep retention, not replace, not literally not one of their existing associates because of the pilot. One of the things that they also did was upskill and train and shift employees into new roles, new capabilities. And there was some voluntary turnover during this time. But I think what's important is they understood how to leverage the skill sets or train up their existing employees instead of replacing them. So I think the 2025 differentiator will be what I call transformative AI maturity, where organizations that move beyond point solutions to AI native operating models, those companies will exhibit things like fluid human AI collaboration, where roles dynamically just adapt based on context, ethics by design architecture that makes responsible AI the path of least resistance, continuous learning loops, so where you're starting to see every interaction improve the system, and then hopefully, which is pivotal, stakeholder-centric governance. So that balances sort of these multiple interests in real time. And then finally, value amplification as well. That just simply measures human potential being unlocked, not just cost saved. In 2025, moving forward, the winners won't be those with the most AI. They'll ideally be those who've mastered the art of human AI symbiosis at scale.
What are the cultural differences in AI transformation strategies?
Culture isn't just context, right? It's code. During my time scaling AI initiatives across upwards of 175 countries during my time at Meta, I learned that identical algorithms produce radically different outcomes based on cultural substrates. What works in Palo Alto can fail spectacularly in Paris, Tokyo, Sao Paulo. Take personalization, right? In the US, hyper-targeting is often seen as convenience. So upwards of 58% of Americans are willing to trade data for relevance. Now take that same model and plop it down in Germany. That number drops to about 23%. The very same feature is perceived as surveillance versus convenience. If we move to China, there's something like a 76% acceptance rate, but with expectations of state oversight that would be unthinkable in Western markets. So these aren't just statistics. I think they're strategic guidance. During my time in my executive MBA, we looked at global cultural norms, right? And one of the things I took from that is understanding sort of archetypes for AI adoption. One of the things I noticed is you have pioneer cultures, right? These are folks like markets like the US and China. They're high risk tolerance. There's individual agencies. They move fast. They have that move fast mentality. You also see things like guardian cultures, right? And that's more of like the EU and Japan, where there's a collective protection, a very deliberate process. There's a move right philosophy in how to get things done, but in a procedural manner. And then you have societies like Singapore, India, the UAE, that are more pragmatic cultures. They do things like selective adoption, government-led innovation, and they look at more of a move smart approach. So I think the most successful global AI strategies that I've seen create like a go local framework where there's global ethical standards with local implementation flexibility. For example, I use this example in the book when I interviewed Chris Duffy, who's one of the AI leads at Adobe. Adobe's content authenticity initiative succeeds at, because it respects both Silicon Valley's innovation ethos as well as Europe's authenticity concerns. If you look at Microsoft's responsible AI program, that works because it translates universal principles into culturally specific practices. And I think if we were to take a lesson away from that, you don't export your AI strategy, you translate it. It's important to remember that in AI transformation, Culture doesn't just eat strategy for breakfast, so to speak. It determines whether your AI ever even makes it to the table.
You serve on boards focused on tech education for underrepresented communities. Looking at the 42-point gender gap in AI skills and knowing that companies with diverse leadership are 15% more likely to outperform, what specific advice would you give to women executives who want to lead their organization's AI transformation but feel that they are starting from behind?
First, it's important to confront the numbers. Women hold, I think as of Q1 2025, women hold only 26% of AI roles and just 12% of AI leadership positions globally. But here's what the statistics I think miss is the very skills that have been historically undervalued in tech leadership are precisely what AI transformation demands. Women executives often excel at, I hate making generalizations, but we see some of these consistent clusters when we look at women leaders. They normally excel at what I call, AI leadership. I'll use the term that my client used, superpowers, right? Systems thinking over siloed solutions. They optimize stakeholder empathy over pure efficiency. We've also seen sort of this risk awareness balance with innovation, a collaborative sort of intelligence over just competitive dynamics. So, and to be clear, these are not soft skills, right? They're hard requirements for AI success. So my advice would be, I would say 5 key areas. Claim your expertise differently. You don't need to code neural networks, or at least I can't. You need to ask questions that make AI better. Who does this exclude? What could go wrong? How do we measure success beyond simply accuracy? 2 would be around building your AI fluency strategically. So here it's taking MIT's AI for Leaders course, for example, not necessarily, a TensorFlow tutorial. Read Kathy's Weapons of Math Destruction versus deep learning. Right? I think the value is in governance, not sort of gradient descent. Thirdly, I think, and this is important, is positioning yourself at sort of critical intersections. So some of the most influential AI roles aren't in engineering, actually. They're in AI ethics committees, transformation steering groups, customer advisory boards. That's where decisions that matter are starting to get made. And obviously partnering with technical folks is pivotal as well. 4th pillar, I would say, would be around networking with intention. And I think this is just a fail-safe across all advice, right? Joining, women in AI, looking at going to traditional AI conferences. Be the voice that shifts conversations from what's possible to what's responsible at the end of the day. Finally, which I really hope this lands, especially with more executive women, is really sponsor and scale. As you rise, pull others up. I've personally mentored 147 women into AI leadership roles. Each one is now doing the same. I think that's how we change the ratio exponentially, not incrementally. So that would be my advice.
Tell us more about your book, the inspiration, and what change you hope to see and how marketing leaders approach AI after reading it.
Amazing thanks to my publisher, Kogan Page, who actually saw opportunity with the book as part of the market. I wrote Ethical AI in Marketing because I honestly believe we're at an inflection point. And I know you probably hear this a lot with AI, but I authentically believe that we have perhaps 18 to 24 months to establish the norms that will govern AI's role in human decision-making for the next generation ahead. After that, path dependencies lock in and retrofitting ethics becomes exponentially harder. So the book emerged from a specific frustration, somewhat, so to speak, in just watching brilliant technologists, well-intended marketers inadvertently architect systems that manipulate rather than serve. I documented cases where AI-driven marketing achieved upwards of 400% conversion improvements in some cases, but it did so by exploiting cognitive biases so effectively that regulators, had to intervene. And that's not success, right? That's a time bomb. The goal of this book isn't to be a naysayer by any means or give all these negative warnings. The book is supposed to be a blueprint. So across the 12 chapters, chapters, I have upwards of 30 case studies, and I try to have a spectrum across multiple domains: travel, retail, hospitality, technology, automotive, as well as across startups to small and medium businesses and enterprises. I also provide the PACT, which I mentioned earlier, framework, which provides like templates, metrics, governance models. I also give recommendations to other frameworks. So, I mean, mine is available, but there are also excellent frameworks that are out there as well through independent third parties like IEE that I reference. I also look at and provide team transformation playbooks for building ethical AI capabilities within your company, whether you're starting fresh or trying to remodel something that maybe isn't working. And then importantly, I end with sort of, future proofing strategies for the next wave of AI advancement. And I think if I were to walk away and say, like, what's the change, I want to see is fundamental sort of shift in marketing transformed from extraction to value exchange, right? I envision that AI can sort of enhance human agency rather than hijacking it. So, personalization can empower rather than manipulate, and brands are able to earn attention rather than steal it. So my ultimate measure of success, I have 15 nieces and nephews. I always think about the world that they will eventually work within. So, when my 12-year-old niece enters the workforce, I want her to sort of inherit an ecosystem where AI amplifies human potential rather than exploiting human psychology. Hopefully, I've already decided that she's going to be a marketer, where marketing can ideally create sort of genuine value rather than this, manufactured desire that we see a lot of now. Hopefully where ethical AI isn't an oxymoron. The only AI that survives, right, is the ethical kind. So I don't think this is idealism. I think it's inevitable, and the companies get this right won't just win markets. They'll define sort of what the future of this human AI interaction is. The question isn't whether ethical AI will dominate, but it's whether your organization will lead or follow that transformation.